Welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is Vanetta Jameson, and I am president of the Board of Directors for the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland. It is my pleasure to welcome you to Legal Aid's 112th annual meeting. Our theme, thank you. Our theme this year is from this quote by Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. To begin our proceedings today, I am going to introduce you to a few thoughtful, committed citizens who are quite special to Legal Aid, our 2017 award winners. First, I present our staff awards. We annually recognize excellence of our staff through this award program funded by the Alan Modorsky and the Alan Gressel Memorial Funds at Legal Aid, and numerous other individual gifts. The award is named for Claude E. Clark, who directed Legal Aid's work for nearly 4 decades. You can read more about the awards and see bios in your program booklet on page 13. This year, we present 2 Claude E. Clark Awards to Legal Aid attorney Katie Lasky Donovan and paralegal Kristen Naraki. Congratulations. Next, it is my pleasure to present our Volunteer Service Awards. Legal Aid cannot assist its many clients without relying on the great work of its pro bono volunteers. You can read details about our award winners on pages 10 and 11 of your program book. The Community Impact Award is presented to those who leave a lasting mark through their pro bono engagement. This year, we are proud to present the Community Impact Award to the law firm of Dworkin and Bernstein. And the additional award goes to the Honorable Harry Field of the Willoughby Municipal Court. Let's give them a round of applause as well. The Access to Justice Award is presented in recognition of significant contributions to advancing the mission of Legal Aid through pro bono. I am honored to introduce you to the 2017 Access to Justice awardees: Mike Harvey, Anna Lasco, Jerry Meter, and Mark Wallach. Let's give them a round of applause. We appreciate all of the hard work that they do. Thank you. And finally, the Legacy of Justice Award, presented to an individual whose pro bono efforts have had significant tenure and impact. I am so pleased to present this 2017 Legacy of Justice Award to none other than my friend, Frank DeSantis of Thompson-Hine. With his thoughtful demeanor, Frank has been the moving force throughout so much of Legal Aid's pro bono work. He has leveraged his many leadership roles to promote pro bono. His words, influence, and reputation in the community have been critical to promoting Legal Aid's mission. By representing what is good and noble about the legal profession, Mr. DeSantis is a role model to us at Legal Aid and the Cleveland legal community at large. Let's give him a round of applause again.
Thank you, Vanetta. You have to excuse me, I'm fighting a cold. First, I'd like to say I'm honored to be recognized. Embarrassed, but grateful. In line with the theme today, I'd like to tell you my legal aid story. I started college in the 60s, what I can remember of it. And like many of my contemporaries, it was my intention to save the world by helping those in need. Well, my career took a little divergence, and while I'm proud of what I've done and what I do, I wasn't exactly saving the world. So when I took my first pro bono case many years ago, and I felt the gratitude of a woman who, without my free legal services, would have been in a desperate situation, I experienced some of the feelings that I think that I really was hoping for in the 60s. So now, whenever I'm involved in a legal aid or a pro bono matter, whether it's a legal aid clinic or a case, or just providing thoughts to some of the many lawyers in my firm who do pro bono work, I'm rewarded with that 60s feeling again. So I intend to continue to do pro bono work well into what Legal Aid calls my Act 2. Thanks a lot.
It all began back in 1969 when I was hired as a secretary. And when I came to Legal Aid, I said, wow, this is where I should be because they're helping people.
I could give you an example of a family that was about to get evicted from their home because of a dispute with the landlord who was not paying for heat.
I mean, she was a single mom, raising her daughter, and she stumbled into this problem, and it could have engulfed her and completely taken her down.
So I went to one of the attorneys. I was telling them about my situation, and she said, it's not as bad as it seems. We're going to work all this out.
And that's just one person. One person, one case, one time.
People whose homes are being threatened, whose children's education is being threatened, they need access to justice.
Especially in these times when we have so many issues with poverty, with homelessness, with immigration issues, with domestic violence.
They have their finger on the pulse of the community, and they know what the issues are, and so they're able to deal effectively with them.
It has been a cherished institution for as long as I've practiced law here, a very effective and well-run organization that takes care of basic needs in our community.
And when people come to Legal Aid, they're treated with dignity, respect.
They come in so frightened of the situation they're in and then leave with just so much of that anxiety just kind of off of their shoulders because of the work being done by these volunteers.
It's like I'm okay.
And as a result of working with Legal Aid, clients get to start new lives.
That sense that there's hope or possibility for people who are not feeling like there's hope or possibility is a tremendous game changer. I'm Ann Goodman.
I'm Rita Mainboard.
I am Steve O'Brien.
I'm Wanda Simmons.
I'm Harlan Edelman.
And this
And
is
this is my
This
legal
is
aid.
my legal.
My legal aid story.
My legal aid story.
My name is Barbara Simmons, and I have handled client intake at Legal Aid since 1969. I've always, thank you. I've always had this passion of wanting to help people, and when I came to Legal Aid, I said, this is where I should be. And in nearly 50 years, I've seen how legal aid can change this community by helping people navigate through the legal system. It's not easy. And to get lawyers with expertise that can help a client win the case, that means a lot. And that's my legal aid story. I am able to have this story because of wonderful leadership at Legal Aid. You've heard already from our board president, and I am pleased to introduce you to Legal Aid's executive director, Colleen Cotter.
Thank you, Barbara. Good afternoon. I am delighted to add my welcome to our 112th annual meeting. Congratulations and thank you to our staff and pro bono award winners. Well done. What a great way to start this event. This is, after all, Legal Aid's annual celebration, an opportunity to look back at our shared successes and our shared commitment to the reality of justice in Greater Cleveland, and to look forward to what we will accomplish together in the days ahead to create justice in our community. We have some audacious goals for the coming year, and we will need you, all of you here, attorneys, volunteers, community partners, government officials, foundation officers, clergy, to realize our vision. You see, we do indeed believe that committed citizens can, by working together, change the world. This model of a community pursuing justice is, I should point out, nothing new for Legal Aid. In 1913, when Legal Aid was just 8 years old, we became a charter member of the Cleveland Federation for Charity and Philanthropy, which would become today's United Way. For more than a century, our modus operandi has been building a community in pursuit of justice, a community to extend our reach, ensuring we are where and when our clients need us, a community to ensure Legal Aid's work has real, tangible impact on our clients, their families, and our entire community. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I do want to discuss this community of justice, but first, my job is to report on the work of the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland. Last year, we helped more than 17,000 people through more than 7,000 cases. Almost half of the households we helped included children. Almost 3/4 of our clients were female. 56% were African American, 34% white, and 7% Latino. 83% of our clients' households made less than $25,000 a year. For these families in Lorain, Cuyahoga, Lake, Geauga, and Ashtabula counties,
We prevented 68% of foreclosures and 92% of evictions. We removed barriers to education in 84% of our cases. We secured the safety of clients from, for example, domestic violence in 98% of cases. And we helped 878 U.S. veterans and veteran family members. And where economic security was at stake, like cases involving important assets, debt, and wrongfully denied benefits, we reduced our clients' debt and increased their assets and annual income by a combined $15.7 million. How's that for a return on investment? In short, this past year is marked by impressive outcomes for our clients. But at the same time, as always, the painful, persisting truth that we have the resources to help only half of the people seeking our assistance. Needless to say, but worth emphasizing nonetheless, the gap between our resources and our potential, between the community's need and our grasp, is a problem we need to solve. But let's focus on how we accomplished those outcomes. We helped those 17,000 people through the people who did the work, 43 legal aid staff attorneys and 31 other legal aid staff members, 2,700 volunteer attorneys, 230 law student volunteers, and through the people who supported our work, 1,600 individual donors, hundreds of foundations, corporate, and law firm supporters. And finally, through those who leveraged our work, hundreds of leaders and organizations with whom we partner across our 5 counties. One group I want to especially celebrate today is Legal Aid's wonderful board of directors. They provide strategic direction and ensure legal aid grows and has impact on our community. First, I want to recognize 3 board members who are completing their terms this year: attorneys Betsy Rader and David Tocco, and community representative Heather Nicastro. We thank you for your service. And now all the Legal Aid board members, please stand up so we can thank you and recognize you for your service. And now I want to get back to talking about those audacious goals I mentioned. They're lofty, but rooted in 112 years of history. First, to be where and when our clients need us. Through our partnerships, we will substantially increase the number of low-income people who both understand that the law is a powerful tool for addressing their problems and are able to access legal aid when they need us. Second, we will bring greater stability to our clients' lives when their health, safety, economic security, education, or housing are threatened, or when barriers stand in their way to accessing these basic needs. Third, we will empower families to move from poverty to stable lives in which they can pursue their dreams. And finally, our work will have a ripple effect. Our entire community will realize the benefit when our clients fully engage in the community, no longer weighed down by the threat of losing their home or not having enough money to buy food or living with violence in their home. Simply put, we all experience a stronger democracy. I know these are lofty goals, but we have the right ingredients for success. First, Legal Aid's foundation is strong. We have a phenomenal staff. Their deep commitment, experience, creativity, brilliance, kindness, and the high-quality work they produce every day is second to none. Please stand, legal aid colleagues, so we can recognize you. Second, we have true, vital, and powerful partnerships. And over the next year, we are committed to accelerating and expanding our diverse constellation of partnerships. They enable us to reach clients who might not know their rights or who might not otherwise come to legal aid. Just a few examples: conducting monthly advice clinics at the Cleveland Public Library, Oberlin Community Services, and Catholic Charities in Ashtabula County; serving veterans with Family and Community Services, the Veterans Administration Community Referral and Resource Center, and Frontline; removing barriers to employment with Guidestone, Volunteers of America, and CMHA; developing partnerships and increasing our presence through a new initiative in 4 Cleveland neighborhoods: Huff, Kinsman, Slavic Village, and Central; addressing social determinants of health with the Metro Health System and new this year, St. Vincent Charity Hospital; and stabilizing families so children get to school and stay in school with Near West Intergenerational School and with our partners at the Cleveland Metropolitan Bar Association with the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. We have the ingredients, the foundation to achieve our audacious goals: our incredible staff and volunteers, our partnerships, our community. Together, we achieve those impressive outcomes for our clients: evictions prevented, safety secured, barriers to education and employment removed, lives stabilized. But these aren't just individual outcomes, they are community outcomes. Families that were once wholly consumed with getting from day to day are able to fully engage in their neighborhoods, with their children's school, with training to get a better job. Democracy thrives. Allow me to share just one example of how all of this comes together: legal aid's advocacy to ensure healthy homes in light of the lead poisoning crisis. We have known for decades that lead poisoning causes irreparable harm in children. Yet 14% of Cleveland's children have elevated lead levels in their blood. This is double the rate of Flint, Michigan. Lead poisoning causes permanent damage in children, damage to the brain and nervous system, learning and behavior problems. As a community, we have been largely ignoring this epidemic. It's too overwhelming. It's seemingly insurmountable. Flint changed that. Our partners and leaders in the community have mobilized. They came to us asking for our partnership, and we said yes. We are applying our model of engaging staff and volunteers, educating the community, and partnering for impact to the issue of lead. It can seem like such a big, amorphous problem, but our individual clients impacted by lead poisoning break your heart. A toddler poisoned just by breathing lead dust in her bedroom. An infant learning to crawl, poisoned by the lead dust in the carpet. We are seeking to enforce our current laws so that if a child is poisoned, the lead hazards in her home are immediately abated so the damage does not become worse, and no child living there in the future will be poisoned. We are working with city government to improve our systems so that we remove lead hazards before a child is poisoned, rather than wait until after the damage is done. We believe we will be successful. We believe that we will, by working together, create a community where children are no longer poisoned by lead in their homes, in their bedrooms, in the carpet, where we no longer use children as lead detectors. We can create a more just, healthier community. This is just one example of our sharpened focus on reaching out more deeply, more strategically, making legal aid more visible and available, empowering more families to believe that they can improve their lives, that they are not helpless, that the power of the law is for them. But creating a just and healthy community takes a community. Lawyers, government leaders, social workers, healthcare providers, educators, foundations, philanthropists, community leaders, and on and on and on. This will take all of you here today. You each are part of that growing and vital web of problem-solving connections, the eyes and ears, referral sources, and supporters that help us get our work done. Many of you are already deeply engaged with legal aid. You are a board member, a community partner, a volunteer, a loaned associate, a staff member, a legal aid client, a legal aid alumni, a financial investor in our great work. You are part of legal aid. Legal aid is part of you. We call that deeper connection my legal aid story. The individual personal connection you have to legal aid. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. My call to action today is this: help us demonstrate in a big way that our small but ever-growing group of thoughtful, committed citizens is changing the world. Share your legal aid story. Strengthen your legal aid story. And if you don't yet have one, now is the time. Create your legal aid story. Give, volunteer, partner, and never doubt that this not so small group of committed citizens can indeed, together, change the world right here in Greater Cleveland. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. Now I've shared my legal aid story. Colleen shared hers. Now it's time to share yours. With some help from the law firm of Baker Hostetler, you can become part of the legal aid story. Baker Hostetler generously pledged to match dollar for dollar each gift made today to legal aid and paid by December 1st. We invite you to invest in us and make a gift today using the pledge cards, going online, texting. Your pledge cards are also detailed on how you can share your legal aid story. Tweet today using the hashtag #MyLegalAidStory or visit us online at www.mylegalaidstory.com. Could our friends from Baker Hostetler please stand and to be recognized for your generosity? Thank you for your leverage, for your generosity to help everyone be a part of our legal aid story.
Baker Hostetler, thank you for your support. In August of 2015, the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland lost former board member, supporter, and friend, Congressman Louis Stokes. His was a sharp vision of justice, that all people deserve our respect and any barriers that prevent each individual from fully engaging in our society must be removed. Congressman Stokes worked to remove those barriers, especially barriers born out of racism and poverty. He worked to create a just community, and he inspired others to follow him. In his honor, Legal Aid inaugurated in 2015 the Louis Stokes Paragon Award. This award is presented to individuals who follow in Congressman Stokes' path, who, like him, serve as models of excellence in their pursuit of justice.
I've had a long personal relationship with the Legal Aid Society. Sitting on the board of the Legal Aid Society is an opportunity to help promote the good that society does in our community. They are doing an extraordinary job of providing access to equality under the law. And that, I think, is so important as a lawyer.
The Legal Aid Society of Cleveland thanks the members of the Stokes family who are with us today. Thank you for your continued support. Today, we honor two leaders of the Legal Services Corporation. The Legal Services Corporation is the single largest funder of civil legal aid in the country. And over the past 8 years, no two people have done more to advance the cause of civil legal aid in the United States than John Levy and Jim Sandman. You can read their formal bios of John and Jim on page 7 of the program. But allow me just a few moments to describe them on a more personal level. John Levy has served as chair of the board of the Legal Services Corporation since his appointment by President Obama in 2009. He has used that position to broaden and deepen support for legal aid across the country. John believes that our country can fulfill its promise of equal justice by ensuring that people in poverty have access to lawyers to enforce their rights. And he believes that everyone he talks to will agree with him. So his goal has been to talk to as many people as possible. It turns out he is right. John has successfully engaged leaders within and outside the legal profession, dramatically broadening the community of individuals who support national funding for legal aid and the principle of equal justice. And John's partner throughout this crusade has been Jim Sandman, president of the Legal Services Corporation. Jim has raised the stature of the Legal Services Corporation, among others, government agencies, the private bar, in Congress, among bar associations, and at law schools around the country. Jim has made it clear that in order to realize justice in America, we need broad financial and volunteer support, partnerships with the courts, sufficient federal funding, and strong legal aid organizations like the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland. He has been a model of commitment to justice and has actively engaged new partners around the country. He has been a mentor to dozens of legal aid leaders and an inspiration to all, me included. Together, Jim and John exemplify our theme for today's luncheon. They have built a community of individuals who are committed to creating a more just nation to changing the world. Gentlemen, thank you for your commitment to civil legal aid nationwide and for being good friends to the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland. We are proud to present you with the 2017 Lewis Stokes Paragon Award.
Thank you so much, Vanetta and Colleen. And what a turnout here today in Cleveland. What a particular honor it is for me to receive an award bearing the name of Congressman Lewis Stokes. Congressman Stokes, as you all know, was so concerned about the accessibility of America's justice system, tremendously supportive of LSC during his entire career, and served for so many years with distinction on the board of the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland. He knew what we all know: equal justice is not charity. And I accept this award knowing that I have a lot more people to talk to, and so do we all. Because the work of making our civil justice system accessible to all still remains in front of us. We have so much work to do. But I also accept this award in recognition of the extraordinary Legal Aid Society of Cleveland and its remarkable staff and executive director and board. All of you should be so very proud of what you've built here in Cleveland. When I became the chair of LSC, I quickly learned of the many issues confronting the very large number of veterans who had served our country, were returning to civilian life, many from abroad. I learned of the backlog, and for many, the significant issues related to obtaining benefits that through their service they had more than earned. So I decided I would get myself trained and do my part to try to help some of those veterans. Well, one of them had terrible PTSD as a result of having survived a terrorist attack in the Middle East that left most of his unit killed or severely injured. Upon returning home, he had difficulty maintaining employment because of continual flashbacks, episodes of anxiety and depression. But unfortunately, he'd been unable to obtain the necessary benefits to help him. Well, I undertook to represent him and helped him obtain a significant back award and future benefits, including coverage for necessary treatments, which for him and his wife were life-saving. When I got word that we'd been successful, while it was thrilling for me, it was life-changing for him and his family. It allowed them to stay in their home and to face the future with optimism. Even though that happened a few years ago, the memory of that moment when his wife and he learned that he had won those benefits is so powerful, well, it's still with me today. That, folks, is my legal aid story. I know others have their own. I really believe that our combined efforts can add up to making the difference in so many lives. Thank you again for this wonderful award, and also for recognizing the extraordinary work of LSC's remarkable president, Jim Sandman. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. I'm very honored and deeply humbled to receive this award, named after Congressman Lewis Stokes, who was a paragon of integrity and public service, who devoted his life to changing the world for the better. I'm no Lewis Stokes. I don't deserve this award. I accept it as a challenge to earn it, and I pledge to his family that I will. I'm also thrilled to be honored along with my partner, John Levy, my partner in pursuing the cause of equal justice. I can't imagine a stronger, better partner. And John, you're the best boss I've ever had. Thank you. I know and work with many legal aid programs. The Legal Services Corporation funds 133 legal aid programs that among them serve every county in every state, the District of Columbia, and the territories. Just as a good parent has to love all his or her children equally, I need to love all our legal aid grantees equally. But just among us, you have something special here. When I think of the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland, I think of 4 hallmarks of excellence that distinguish you. The first is that you are uncommonly good at meeting your clients where they are, literally, being out there in the community. You do it in many ways, through the regular clinics that you run in public libraries and in community centers, through your partnerships with social services organizations and schools and hospitals, most recently St. Vincent's Charity Hospital. You don't require the clients to come to you. That's unusual. Second, the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland is a talent magnet. I know of no legal aid program in the country that does a better job of recruiting and retaining dedicated, creative, innovative, brilliant people. And the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland has a remarkable record of holding on to them. You heard earlier about Barbara, who's been with the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland since 1969. Well, over here at table 14, Carol Drummer is this. Carol has been a paralegal with the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland for 50 years. I have to tell you, though, Carol, I went over to introduce myself earlier to say hi. I didn't tell her what I was going to do, but when I went to the table and I said, "Is Carol Drummer here?" she looked at me as if she were in trouble. Thank you, Carol. Third, the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland has remarkably broad and deep relationships throughout its community, with lawyers and law firms, with the business community, with foundations, with government agencies, with the faith community. Look at this room. I go to many legal aid events. I've never been to an event as big as this. 1,100 people here. I've never seen that anywhere in the United States. You have something special here. And fourth, you have one asset that no other legal aid program in the United States can claim. You have Colleen Cotter. I don't know a finer legal aid leader in America. It's appropriate during this Thanksgiving week that we acknowledge and express our gratitude for the work that the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland does in upholding and implementing the most fundamental of American values: justice, equal justice. It's a value as old as the Republic itself, older even. The passengers on the Mayflower, before they disembarked in Massachusetts, covenanted and combined themselves, as they put it in the Mayflower Compact, to enact, constitute, and frame just and equal laws. More than a century and a half later, when our country was being founded and its form of government framed, the founders and the framers emphasized over and over again that justice was their most important goal. Alexander Hamilton said, "The first duty of society is justice." Thomas Jefferson wrote, "The most sacred of the duties of government is to do equal and impartial justice to all its citizens." James Madison, in Federalist Number 51, wrote, "Justice is the end of government. It is the end of civil society. It ever has been and ever will be pursued until it be obtained, or until liberty be lost in the pursuit." And the very first line of the Constitution cites establishing justice as the framers' most important goal. The first line of the Constitution reads, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice." I think that's fascinating. The framers cited establishing justice as their goal before they mentioned providing for the common defense or ensuring domestic tranquility. I don't think their ordering was an accident. They recognized that a well-functioning, accessible system of justice is essential to societal stability. It's about the rule of law. You won't long have a nation to defend or worth defending without it. This is what the great Judge Learned Hand meant when he said in addressing the Legal Aid Society of New York in 1951, "If we are to keep our democracy, there must be one commandment: thou shalt not ration justice." You can find the value expressed over and over again throughout our history, from the inscription on the pediment of the Supreme Court building, "Equal justice under law," to the closing words of the Pledge of Allegiance, "Justice for all." What the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland does is to make this value real for people to whom it might otherwise be just a cruel illusion. You heard in Colleen's presentation earlier about the great work that the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland has done in the past year to keep people in their homes, to protect their health, to provide safety for victims of abuse, to keep children in schools. Well, they do something else. They nourish the spirits of their clients. They give them faith that our nation's solemn pledge of justice for all is alive and real. And they give them hope for a fair shake that they may never have received previously in their lives. I think they're heroes, and I think they're patriots. My legal aid story involves the inspiration that I have taken from legal aid lawyers and how it changed the course of my career. I spent 30 years in a big law firm representing corporate America. I was managing partner of the firm for 10 years. I loved my firm and I loved my work for a very long time. But eventually, I came to feel a disconnect between my personal values and what I was doing for a living. I felt a sense of disharmony. I felt as if I were devoting my life to making rich people richer. That was not why I went to law school. So I decided I needed to make a change. And I looked around and I realized that the lawyers I admired and respected the most, the ones I wished I were like, were those who were devoting themselves full-time for the duration of their careers to the service of others. people like legal aid lawyers. So I decided to join them. And 10 years ago, I left the only professional home I'd ever had as a lawyer and took up a new life. My first stop was as general counsel of the District of Columbia Public Schools. If you're looking to make a change in your career, try moving from a big law firm to the District of Columbia Schools. It was wild. And I've been at the Legal Services Corporation since 2011. And what I've seen since then has confirmed the impression I had when I was going through that thought process of figuring out what to do next and try to restore some harmony in my life between my personal values and what I do for a living. And every day, I see legal aid lawyers as heroes. They carry crushing caseloads. They have to deal with the emotional burden of their clients' circumstances and with the heartbreak of knowing how many people they can't help. As a group, they're the lowest paid lawyers in the legal profession. They have to deal with the stress of precarious funding. But they do all this with a passion and a commitment and a professionalism and a dedication that is astonishing. And they do it year in and year out for decades. Some since 1969, some since 1967. These, to me, are the heroes of the legal profession. You have heroes among you at the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland. Thank you, everyone here in this room, for what you do to support and empower them in their work. They could not do it without you. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful and committed citizens can change the world. It's true. It's happening right here in Cleveland. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim, for those kind words. And I thank each and every one of you for joining us today. Have a wonderful afternoon, and please remember to share your legal aid story. Have a good day.